Audio
And
on.
we are live and ready to go. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Switch this over so that you guys can see like a cool screen of like a blank ZBrush instead of starting soon screen. Ah, well, welcome to everybody who may be here in the future. Ah, brand new stream. This is gonna be fun. All right, so Stephen Anderson. I'm here with with a good friend of mine, Mikel Wellington.
Hello, everyone.
Why don't you go ahead and start off? Yeah, I guess we're kind of guests in each other's realm. So how about you go ahead and start? Tell a little bit about yourself, and then
Okay,
I'll tell a
sure.
little bit about myself, and then I'll introduce today's activity.
Excellent. So my name is Mikel Wellington. I am a 3D character artist based out of Los Angeles, California. I've been doing a wide variety of different type of artistic 3D endeavors, going from government contracting to video game production, and now I'm currently in film. 3D has always been a major part of my life, from gaming to where I am today. And I couldn't be more excited to start this endeavor with you all. This is my very first time on stream. This is my very first time doing a Twitch art stream. So, just bear with us. Bear with me, rather, as I'm getting more familiar with this process. I know Steven is definitely he's a veteran to this, so I was really honored to have the opportunity to step on here with him.
Mikel's gonna kill it today. He's gonna totally nail it. It's gonna be fun. So that'll be fun to be able to participate in your first ever live stream artistically, you know. But yeah, so that's cool. Thanks for joining me today, Mikkel. It'll be just absolute fun to kind of get together like this, especially with social distancing and all that garbage going on right now.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm Steven Anderson. I also have a pretty wide breadth of experience in entertainment and digital industry. Although I don't know, I still don't have quite as varied of clients as you have, Mikhail, so far. But yeah, so uh, um, currently I'm an instructor for Gnomon, teaching stylized character creation. I recently was working with, before the pandemic, I was working for Walt Disney Imagineering as a 3D concept sculptor. I've worked at all sorts of other places. Hasbro as a toy sculptor. I've worked for Warner Brothers Games as a character artist. DreamWorks as a modeler. But I've also done things like fine art sculpting and rapid prototyping. And I've also modeled furniture for visualization. I don't know, all sorts of weird little random things. But yeah, I'm excited to go ahead and introduce today's activity today. And feel free, those of you who are watching, if you want to listen to the stream, you can listen on either platform. I'm here on YouTube, youtube.com/smartest, and then Mikkel is over on Twitch at twitch.tv/ menti underscore MW.
MW, correct.
And that's tell me a little bit about Menti. What was it that Menti stands for?
Minty was actually I used to play games competitively, and I would play Halo, Rainbow Six, Gears of War, and I had a partner who I would always play with. His name was Mate. And every time we would have call outs within a given area of the game, my teammates would always have to say, "Hey, mentality, go this way," or "Hey, mentality, he's behind you." So a lot of times it would always disturb our flow of communication. So my teammate Mate, he was like, "Hey man, from here on out, you're known as Minty forever." and it's pretty much stuck since then. Not only through um, my gaming career, but also through my professional career as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. I mean, you know who it is when he chimes into places and whatnot. And it's so you can find him. You know, you can find him on Instagram. You know, he's easy to find. You just type in his name. He's like the only one. Um, so yeah, Mikel.Wellington on Instagram, and then yeah, and then so yeah, if you wanna watch live what it is that he's doing, he's on Twitch.tv / Menti MENTY _MW for Mikel
Absolutely.
Wellington. So yeah, super fun. So today's activity is going to be a team stream. It's going to be a kind of a pass the sculpt sort of experience, kind of like what I've done in the past on the Pixelogic channel on Twitch and on YouTube and whatnot with Ana Carolina and Ashley Adams and Pablo Munoz. It's a really fun activity where just essentially you spend an hour sculpting out something, and then on a theme, and then at the end of the hour we pass the sculpt to each other, and we continue it on for another hour, and it's just a kind of an interesting activity because one, it gets you thinking design on a theme in a short amount of time. Yeah, we really only just barely decided this theme this morning, so we haven't really had like any time to come up with any preconceived notions of what we'll do. So it's going to be a lot of fun on that end. Stressful, I'm sure, but fun as well. um, so we've got that, and then uh, yeah. So you get to kind of come up and design on the fly. Um, but then it's also just an interesting thing because at the end of when you change sculpts, it gives you that idea or the ability to kind of just refresh what you think you're doing and start working on something that somebody else had already been working on, and it just kind of gets you going creatively. It's really really fun.
Right.
Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Cool.
I'm going to set the timer. One of the things that I wish I could have I need to look it up and see if I can find it. But I'm hoping that there's some sort of widget that I can install in the future that has like a countdown timer actually on the OBS. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, I've got a sphere currently, and that's just kind of what I'm starting from. You're welcome to start from whatever you'd like to start from,
Okay.
and let's get going. So the theme that we chose for today is ancient.
Mm. Ancient is always good. I feel like you can always drive something super different or things that you haven't seen in a while,
Yeah,
into that
absolutely.
into that theme.
Absolutely. I'm very interested to see if because I have this idea that kind of came to my head, and I'm curious to see if it'll come out the way that I have it in my head.
How do you usually start concepts like this when you have a general theme? Like, is there a method that you go into when starting? Is there like a certain base that you usually just go for it?
I like to just kind of sculpt and kind of see what happens at first. Um, it gets kind of interesting because I mean to a certain extent there's um I mean, I guess like to a certain extent, you can sort of control the idea from the get go. But then I
Right.
feel like if you get too pigeonholed by one certain idea and you don't just kind of experiment and let it fly, then it can kind of destroy you. So yeah, I like to really maintain kind of an open mind with it. That was a little bit too low resolution.
A lot of times I'll usually start on with like very basic geometric shapes to just fill out the form. Like a lot of it is just bashing stuff together for me initially until um, it starts to feel right. And it's interesting. I feel like if I have an idea of how I want something to feel, like I usually know the kind of direction that I want to take it. But a lot of it is just like this like early exploration of um just emotion, I guess, in the things that I'm creating.
Ooh, exploration of the emotion. That's
Yeah.
poetic.
Yeah, so a lot of it is built off like just these crazy forms and things that I may want to push, not really knowing like how or why. Like a lot of times I see things in like random shapes and stuff. So I'll usually get a strong sense of what I want my silhouette to do based on like these random shapes and expressions, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, it totally makes sense, and I think that a lot of design, a lot of successful design, we'll say, is driven that way, where you're trying to think about emotion and what shapes kind of help to put those emotions across. And let's see, yeah, so yeah, I'm just trying to think about like I don't know. Personally, I'm going through and kind of figuring out like droopy shapes, and I'm figuring out like what makes sense for a droopy old character. I don't know. It's kind of where my head's at right now.
Yeah, I feel like I usually always have something extremely weird um, until I start to like push in the direction of the thing that I really want. And I have like no problems with like cutting and bashing stuff together to get like really funky.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, in fact, I did a speed sculpt the other day just for kicks and giggles, and I mean, it was good. I mean, it had been a while since I'd gotten into Dynamesh and just kind of let it have it, you know. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, kind of a similar thing. And just kind of cut and bash and push and pull spheres and see where it ends up. One thing's for sure, I'm giving this dude a total butt chin. It might be too much of a butt chin. You'll have to decide that when you get it.
That's so funny. Yeah. I think my character is feeling very top hattish.
Let's see.
Do you set up a lot of shortcuts and shortcut menus as you're
Nah,
working
nah. I mean, I have, I
for your
have,
process?
I have oh, beg pardon. I have a few of like the default shortcuts that I've changed. Like Control S, I've changed that to saving a Z tool instead of saving a project. And then I have Control O to open or load tool. Um, but really, like, keep it pretty basic. Um, I feel like most of the default shortcuts and tools and everything work really nicely for what I need.
Right.
How about you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I have a separate menu like ready to go with different shortcuts. I remember previously like watching this tutorial from Mike Pavlovic, and he was like, "Hey, like it's super important to have like a lot of these different uh shortcuts like ready to go because it just creates like a much more cohesive workflow." And it's like the more I started to do that and push for that idea and that mentality within my workflow, it just felt I felt faster. I felt like it turned from creating a lot of different assets just on the fly, like just thinking about it and then having the ability to create it. Some sometimes I feel like I build up stuff and I just like, oh, that looks okay. Then I'll just, you know, completely revamp it.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, Pavlovich has a he's he knows what he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah.
Are
So,
there any other artists that outside of like our field that you really draw inspiration from?
um, well, I mean, I follow a lot of the big artists. Raphael Grassetti and um, I mean, a lot of times, like like there's this one sculpt. There are a couple of artists that I really really love. There's this illustrator named Wiley Beckert that I follow. She's
Hmm.
amazing. I love her stuff. Um, oh, there we go. That's kind of working for me. Um, yeah,
What is it
easily
about her
the.
art that really like inspires you?
Um, there's a lot about it. So like, there's this just like her style, her way of bringing in volume and depth and shape language, and it's all just so cool. Oh, I better save this while I'm thinking about it.
That's a good, that's a good point. I feel like a lot of times I get into like these workflow practices where I'll just not save things as quickly as I should. Uh, yes, I know, I know exactly how you feel. Like it happens to me all the time. And it's usually that moment where you're working on something and it's just starting to get good, and then all of a sudden you get that crash.
Yeah,
Like, no.
easily one of the best feelings in the world. Said no one ever. Yeah.
Right. Man, where's this guy going? So how did you get into the art or 3D? Because
So I got into 3D. It was really interesting. In high school, I wanted to be a marine biologist. Um, I wanted to study reef genetics. I wanted to, in particular, I was like super fascinated by coral reproduction and conservation and that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And I still am. I find that stuff absolutely amazing. Um, I used to have a saltwater fish tank that my dad and I worked on a lot together. It was kind of our project. Some people have cars. We had a saltwater fish tank. It was
Right.
kind of cool. Um, uh, and the but yeah, so my senior year, I mean, I guess my junior year technically. I was looking into places to go for um, what's it called, for for school to study marine biology. And a friend of mine he's now working at DreamWorks, he invited me um, to go to what's it called, a 3D animation class that my high school offered, and it just blew my mind that that was something that would even be available or possible. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll entertain this,
Right.
check it out. And
And you had never considered it before then?
no, I'd never considered. I love drawing, and that's kind of why he had invited me in the first place.
Right.
Um, and in fact, he's a rigger, so it's kind of funny. But anyway, so he invited me to the class, and I entertained it and went and just loved it. Transferred in, and and my whole mentality was just like, this is great. This is so much fun. Um, but then I didn't really consider it as like a career option per se until
Mhm.
the head of the BYU department from BYU, the head of the animation department from BYU came to talk to our class at my high school, and I mean, that was a pretty interesting thing to me, talking to a college professor and thinking, okay. Um, and he went through and told us about like the awards they've won and the way that the program is set up and their connections to professional studios and things like that. And I was just like, dang, I gotta go there. I have got to go there. And it was close to
Right.
it was close to where I live, so or where I grew up. So it was easy for me to go there, um, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of a crazy revelatory sort of moment. So that's kind of how I got into it. I experimented mostly with like 3D modeling. Really, really loved it. Um, and yeah, I mean, I like to think I'm stuck on
Yeah, I always find that everyone seems to have a different path into this career. But it's always such interesting journeys and how everyone has been able to manage like this process, this flow.
Now you've told me your story before, and it's a pretty fun one. You had mentioned your gaming earlier.
Right.
How about
I
you share yours now?
I actually so I used to play Halo competitively and I would travel across the country and compete Halo 1, 2, and 3. And my team was okay. Like we went to a lot of different competitions, a lot of different tournaments. And I ended up going to this one competition and I see this guy who's walking around who has he has this Halo shirt on. And I was like, "Hey, I don't remember them handing out Halo shirts. Like, I want a Halo shirt too."
Where'd you get
So
that?
I asked him, I was like, "Hey, where'd you get that Halo shirt?" And he was like, "Well, actually, I worked on the game and I found out that he was Marcus Leto, who is the art director for Halo at the time." And it's like, "Yeah, I'm an art director." And I was like, "Well, what's an art director do?" I make sure the overall vision of the game is from start to finish looks the way that we want it to look. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize that that was a thing. I didn't realize a career that people actually could do. So once that happened, I started to look up into it more seriously, and I had an opportunity um, to figure out where I wanted to go to school, and I started to look at Art Institute of Washington, and I ultimately attended there. Learned a lot about technology and software, but for me, one of the biggest things that uh, I got out of the school was the confidence that I have the ability to do this. Um, Then I attended Animation Mentor because I thought that for myself, animation was the direction that I wanted to take my career. Um, but the more I got into 3D modeling and the more I had like this passion for it, I just started to like really make a push for this as my primary focus,
Right.
which has been amazing.
Well, and you do a really good job with it too. So it's like it's
Thank
always cool to see like your how clean your topology is and your forms and everything. And granted, you don't post as often as you should.
you.
Public
I do.
shaming.
I literally just had a conversation with my mentor yesterday about that and just talking about the idea of posting because it's just so important, you know. Um, Even with uh, working full time jobs and everything like that, like there should always be room for just getting your work out there and getting visibility on it. No excuses, everybody. No excuses. Just get it done.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, so
like
I
lately,
totally
like
concur.
through the pandemic, I think some of the most useful things that I've been able to do have been like
Mhm.
the draw this in your style challenges and things like that. Because everybody's like taking time to do art since they're stuck at home and things like that, and some of those art challenges are some of the most entertaining and fun things I've worked on in a long, long time. And you can whip them out
Right.
quickly because I mean they're meant to be quick exercises. So it's pretty neat. I really enjoyed that. Done a buttload of
What's
those.
your favorite aspect of it? Is it the speed in which you can get things knocked out? Like, what is it for you?
I certainly like the speed that I can get things kind of pulled out with that, because it's. I mean, it's definitely a very different mindset when you're going through and working off of somebody else's design and trying to pull their design out quickly. Um, Whereas if you're trying to like do your own design, it's a little bit different. Um,
Right.
I mean, right now I'm just kind of like half-mindedly sculpting this thing out and seeing kind of like where is it gonna go. but
I
uh,
get it.
but with that, at least it gives you a blueprint of an idea. And so I like kind of taking their idea and just letting my mind flow with it. I guess in a way, it's kind of like having a theme and doing the speed sculpt because instead of being like a just a word theme, it's a visual theme.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's really fun. I really enjoy that. So wait, you said you went through Animation Mentor, right? Is that am I, or
I
did
did.
you say Anim School? I'm trying to remember. Ah,
It was so Animation Mentor is for the people that don't know. It's a online animation school where a lot of your mentors, a lot of your professors are all uh, animation um, industry professionals. And for me, when I was when I was at the Art Institute, I had a professor when I would always ask him all these questions about animation and just creatively how he goes about uh, working in the art of animation. And he was like, "I'm actually a student at Animation Mentor," and I was like, "Wait a minute, you're teaching us, but you're also a student?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You should always have a thirst for knowledge." And it was like one of the first times I had heard anybody say anything like that because I think at that time I just thought that, oh, you have everything figured out once you finish school and everything, but that definitely wasn't the case. Um, so for me, he really encouraged me. He's like, "Well, Mikel, if animation is something that you really want to do, I highly encourage that you take a step into it." So I did, and it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. The professors there were like really intuitive in terms of just this craft as a whole. I never felt like uh, my time and my experience there wasn't utilized properly. Like my entire experience being that animation mentor was absolutely stellar, and I couldn't trade that for anything because I
That's
feel like a lot of
amazing.
opportunities that came from that led to different things that I've done since then and continue to do. So
You know, the guy that started Animation Mentor is actually ex DreamWorks.
he was actually Pixar. It was Bobby Beck from Pixar, Carlos Baena, who's also from Pixar, and Sean Kelly, who was from Industrial Light and Magic, I believe.
Really? I thought it was Marty Manny.
You thought it was who?
Manny, and I gotta think about like,
Oh, I know you're talking about CGMA,
oh, that's right. You are right.
right?
You're right.
Manny Fragilis. Yeah, he's definitely been a major influence in my career and just a super great guy, like overall. If you all are in 3D and you don't know who Manny Fragilis is from CGMA, you need to look him up. Like find out. Like I said, he's
Super
just
nice
like one of
guy.
the most kind people. Uh besides yourself. Like you guys have been super encouraging uh throughout my entire career process. So
He's stellar. I feel bad that I forgot his name on the internet. It's like that's not
nah,
going away.
it's totally good. Yeah, I feel like there's times where like I just like chopped off like a big part of this character's facial features. I'm just like there's times where I'm just like, mm,
You don't need
I like
an
things looking.
ear.
Yeah, it's just like I like things looking. I wanted to take it in a different direction, and then I just do that instead. You know,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
feel like sometimes we just got to give ourselves the room, the freedom to do that. And I know sometimes it's not always. Whoops. I know sometimes it's not always super nice to ourselves about it, but it's important.
Oh
Like a couple.
man, this has been a fun one so far. I mean, there's definitely some, but you know, I mean, we've only been at this particular sculpt for less than a half hour, just over 20 minutes. You know,
Oh
so
dang.
we're doing all right.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, by the time the 50-minute mark rolls around, I might feel differently, but you know,
But right now,
right now I feel like I'm going all right.
yeah, I know that feeling. I feel like I'm just always adding like really random and weird things until, like I said, it gets that it has like that emotional pull that I want from a particular sculpt. No idea what I did.
I
We were
guess
talking about different types of influences outside of um 3D or animation, I'm a big fan of um, like portraitures and different people that do paintings like that. And I had an opportunity to meet Tim Okamura, who is a Canadian painter. He does a lot of portraitures, really fantastic artist. Met him in Baltimore when I used to live in Washington, D.C. And he would always talk about just his process and his need to create people of color in a lot of his pieces.
Cool.
And it was really cool to just see like how he was able to apply his different techniques in such a tactile manner. Like um, it always felt like really cool, like looking at his different pieces and seeing the kind of things that he brings out
Is that the
his
guy
work.
that's that was highlighted? It gets highlighted like all over the place, and he's does like the super hyper realistic portraiture and stuff like that. Is that the?
Um, he's not a 3D artist. He's like a just a digital painter. But you may have seen his work. I believe he did, maybe he did one of the Obamas. I'm not sure. I don't think he did one of the Obamas.
Because
He had
there's
a
a
piece that's at the National Gallery of Art in Washington D.C.
man,
and it
it's
was just magnificent. I'll um, send you a link to it. Check it out.
there's this sketch artist that I found the other day. It was amazing, and yeah, I mean all he does is well, let me see. Yeah, all he does is people of color, and it's beautiful. I mean, he does these super hyper realistic drawings. It's just gorgeous. Um, and he does do a lot of like kind of political sort of statements with his art, which is it's fine. That's great. Um,
Hmm.
Kind of somewhat abstract in kind of the representation, but it's very realistic in its portrayal, and it's so incredible. Um, yeah, the dude's got this major talent. Something that I totally wish that I had.
Ah, man.
Yeah, getting so because he does like these super realistic things. It's amazing because it's like it looks like photographs,
Ian Spriggs type.
but even more so. I mean, it's like it makes Ian Spriggs look phony.
Oh
It's all
wow.
pencil art, so it's all done by hand. But the life that he brings into these drawings, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's like he literally captures the soul of whoever he drew on the canvas, and it's incredible. I'm still debating whether or not to add ears.
Is there any other type of media that you draw inspiration from?
Mostly sculpture and painting and things like that. But I also like to just take walks. Um,
To take walks.
yeah, just to get out. Sometimes I feel like just getting away from everything is kind of the best form of inspiration.
Yeah. I totally understand that.
Ah, I hate it when I do that. Every once in a while, I'll hit V, and that'll switch my colors on my on ZBrush. It drives me nuts because then all of a sudden, like my sculpt goes black, and it's just like, where did it go?
Yeah. A lot of times I'll try to check it against the silhouette, or with the new 2020, I'll just um
Keep your
I'll just
thumbnail
check it
open.
out. Yeah, yeah, and thumbnail, the new thumbnail viewer.
I actually really don't like it and have it turned off, but
Yeah.
it's a nice little tool, but it's like it's one of those things that I just I can't. It's too distracting for me. It's kind of like if you're playing a game of baseball and family of ducks family of ducks starts walking across the pitch. It's like, well, yeah, family of ducks. That's cute. That's great, but I mean, it's messing up with the game.
Who put these ducks here?
For anyone listening, I'm not totally heartless. I would stop a baseball game for a family of ducks.
Just in case they were out there wondering, like,
Yeah,
oh, you wouldn't stop for ducks?
man, it's heartless. Actually, I probably would stop the game and then I'd say, "Get the ducks. We're having a roast." No, just kidding. That was heartless. That was bad. But somebody might have thought it. You know,
What do you feel like is the greatest challenge being a 3D artist today?
the competition. An extremely competitive field, um, and so like competing with the whole world, especially since we're in this state of pandemia, and things are so much crazier than they ever should have been. Um, it's the world is so accessible. There's so much that people can get to easily, such as freelancers around the world, whatever it is. That it really does kind of make the industry kind of tough to work in.
Yeah.
Um, it's good for people who live in more remote places. Like, um, I've got a good friend in Belgium who he lives in a small town, and because of the internet, he gets really good clients, and he's an amazing sculptor. Um, but yeah, so it's really good if you're in those sorts of situations where you're in places where you don't have access to big studios or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so a lot of it's just kind of that the idea of the competition and how the industry works, and how they'll either they'll keep you on until they don't need you, and that could be drop of a hat. They'll be like ciao.
Yeah.
So,
It's definitely um it's definitely challenging. 'Cause, I mean, for me, it was just a number of years of just you know, trying to work as hard as humanly possible until someone actually take a chance. Um, and that definitely comes with like extremely hard work.
You still there?
But we are currently kith, which
Ah,
is
sorry,
short.
I lost connection.
Oh, what was the last thing you heard?
I don't remember.
Oh,
It was. I think you were saying.
no, I was just telling a story about tend to get inspiration from places that you may not otherwise know. And there's a group of guys that I play games with online that um, have been like a constant source of inspiration for me. One guy in particular, his name is Exploding Pizza, and I remember no, a super awesome guy from Iowa, like fantastic artist, just all around great human being. And there was a time where we were playing games, and he was telling me that he started to get into um, art, like as a career, like he wanted to pursue art. And I was super encouraging of him because I'm like, man, I want more people to be invested in art as a career. Like I think that it's a viable option. And when I started to see what this guy was creating, I was just like, man, he's so good. He's so good and he's so young and he's just ready to go at all times. And it was such an inspirational moment for me because I feel like I've seen different I've seen different people like come and go through this field and people who have a passion for it or may not like really push or strive for it. It was like here is this guy um seemingly blasting out of a rocket like with his tenacity trying to be great at something he was passionate about. And it really was an inspiration for me to um hunker down and you know just go with it, like really push myself as much as possible and as hard as possible, um, because the competition is stiff and it is difficult sometimes. But we have to have like that belief within ourselves that it's a possibility, whatever it is that we're going for, whether that's art or you want to be a doctor or anything else.
Absolutely. See, guys, this is why Mikel's like my best friend because he just comes out with like these bursts of wisdom of like, you're great and here's why.
No, but it's true. It's like there's a certain aspects of greatness that we find in everybody, and I think a lot of times because we're so connected to our own communities and where we are within life at a given point, we don't have an opportunity to really share our greatness with others. Where you have an influx like Twitch and different platforms that allow you to speak out and to share your own personal truth, I think is really exciting. I have no idea how I'm defining the rest of this character, but like I have an idea on certain aspects, but then majority of it, I'm just like, dum da da dum. Let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's just roll with it.
Right now, I've kind of got like Max Grech on the mind, and I'm just trying to like roll with it.
Hmm.
And it's working. He's definitely starting to look ancient.
Yeah. How do you generally come up with the themes for what you're doing? Like, how do you usually select like your words and everything that you're gonna use the inspiration for the stream?
I keep a running list, and so and that'll be usually I have like like the notes in your iPhone. You can keep notes. That's one of the
Mhm.
things I keep notes of, is just words that I find to be inspiring. So if I come across a word while I'm reading on the internet, or listening to a video, or talking to my wife. My wife is really smart, so she has like this huge, uh, just great vocabulary, and she's always using these words that feel meaningful and that spark inspiration. So sometimes I'll write some of those down, or ideas
Yeah.
from those, and it's cool. I mean, it's really fun, that like that. Um, but yeah, I really just like to think about words that leave that leave you with a lot of freedom.
Right.
And that's why I like adjectives, because it's descriptive, but it's not restrictive. It's something that'll allow you to kind of do what you want to a large degree.
So a lot of times when I'm working through sculpts, or like when I'm working through this mesh, one of the questions that came up on stream was, how do you tend to identify what it is that you're doing? And for me, um, and I think for smartest, a lot of the times it's like we're given a specific directive of what it is that we need to create based on a concept, and then from there, like, our job is to, as accurately as possible, match that concept, match that idea of what that character is, in a very collaborative kind of a space. Um, the thought process for this character moving forward, I don't know. I think for me in this moment, I'm having fun, just rolling with it. Um, trying to think like how I want to define what ancient is to me in this character's build, and also still leave enough room for what smartest brings out of it.
Oh, don't worry about me. I'll find room. Oh, that works well. Oh, that works well. Okay, split unmasked. Oops. Yeah, I'll definitely find room. That was one of the funniest things. One of my absolute favorite streams that I've done. It was with Pablo Munoz and Ana Carolina Pereira,
Hmm.
and oh, it was hilarious. So it's another activity kind of like this, but it was creature related. No,
Okay.
I guess it was recycle. It was recycling your old sculpt. So Ana Carolina had picked this her little were goat thing that she sculpted. Anybody who follows her would probably recognize it and remember it, but it's super super weird and super funny. Anyway, so she goes through and um, she pulls that thing out and starts working on it, and it was an absolute right. So what I did is I went ahead and took it and made it even um, more terrifying,
Hmm.
and and then when Pablo got it, no, I guess Pablo got it and he had pushed it a little bit further, to make it uh, more of a kind of, how did it go? So he took it and made it kind of more grotesque, and more of a I get more of a horror creature. Um, and then I took it and kind of exaggerated proportions and really played with some of the shapes and things like that. And really made it extreme. But then when Anna Carolina got it back, uh, so in that time we did it so that since we were passing our sculpt on to the next person, um, to start off with, it was like an old sculpt passing on. Um, yeah, she got to spend the last hour kind of finalizing what it was that had been done to that
Right.
point in the stream, and it was hilarious. She took what I had made of it, like really pushing it, and she really exaggerated it to be, instead of being a horror piece, it became, oh shoot, it became a comedy piece, and it was
How
hilarious.
so?
Oh, so this were goat thing, whatever we're calling it, um, it had this, um, well, so it has like these strange antlers and these big eyes and these horrendous teeth and this matted fur, all this sort of stuff. So
Mhm.
all this is going on, and I try to push it so that it feels even more horrific, even more terrifying, even more nightmarish and whatever. And
Right.
she looks at it and she's just like, I got an idea. And she takes it and she exaggerates it more, but instead of being a horrendous face, she makes it kind of like this stretched, like wah, sort of face. And she's like, I want to motivate that. She gave him like bug eyes and everything, and she said, "I want to motivate this expression." So she threw a stick of dynamite in front of his in front of his
That's
face.
funny.
It was awesome. It was so good.
I feel like there's always like pockets of like unplanned creativity like that is always super, super, super fun when you're working collaboratively.
Absolutely.
Are you artistically inclined in other areas? Like you play any instruments or anything like that?
I do actually play instruments. I play saxophone. I'm trying to learn
No
clarinet.
way.
Yeah.
How long have you played the sax?
Since the sixth grade. So it's been. Oh my goodness, what year would that have been? That would have been 12. So I guess around the turn of the century, I guess, something like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and
Was it a part of a band that you play sax or?
yeah, I was part of the school bands, jazz band, marching band, pep band. But yeah, nothing like, uh, nothing like touring or anything like that. Didn't have a Volkswagen van or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Playing in pubs. I don't know, whatever bands do these days.
Mm.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed my time playing with the band. Um, I don't play nearly as much anymore. I mean, like most people, I'm sure, when they get to these sorts of stages where you're trying to figure yourself out professionally, you kind of let hobby classes fall by the wayside.
Right.
um, but I try to pull it out every once in a while, and play for my kids and things like that. I want it to be something that they can enjoy.
Yeah. It's an activity they can be a part of as well, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Do you start to see any artistic inclination in your kids at this stage?
My daughter loves to sing. She's always belting out like the Frozen songs and things like that, like most 7-year-old girls. But but
Yeah,
it's kind of fun. They both like to draw. Um, they both.
that's
I mean, my son likes to whistle. That's something that he'll do a lot of. He learned how to whistle, and all of a sudden he's just
a master whistler.
master whistler. Exactly. Yeah. So that's fun. My daughter's always drawing. She's always sketching something. My son likes to draw cars. It's been absolutely wild to see. I mean, he does these really cool little cars. I mean, it's more than what I would have expected from
You mean like he'll draw the cars?
yeah, he draws cars. I mean,
That's awesome.
you can't tell it's a Lamborghini or a Maserati or whatever it is that he's drawing, but you can tell that it's a car, and he's been doing this for the last couple of years. And it's funny. Nobody taught him. He just kind of like, I want to draw a
Had
car.
a passion for it and started doing it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super stellar.
I feel like those are always the most uh, cool breakthroughs when you start to see young people like jumping into their passions, you know? Like I don't have
Right,
any kids myself, but I come from a huge, huge family. Like my mom is one of 12, and having an opportunity to see a lot of my little cousins start to grow up and them developing their own personalities and who they are is really interesting.
right. I've got a buddy from Florida, kind of similar situation. He's out here. He doesn't really have family out this way much, and similar sort of thing. He's kind of feeling. Uh, he's seeing his nephews and nieces kind of grow up on the East Coast, and he's out here. Poor guy.
So right now, I currently have a mesh that is about 500,000 polygons. So one of the things that I like to do when I feel like a character is getting too wild or too unruly in terms of the polygon count or the mesh limit, and I want to start to dial it back, I will do a process of Xiri meshing, which basically takes um, these extremely dense polygons you can see here, which are made up of many, many, many triangles, and then it converts them to these larger areas of polygons. Larger areas of polygons or polygons that are much bigger compared to these smaller polygons will give you an opportunity to control and manipulate the geometry at a much larger scale. It's just easier to deal with. Um, so as I'm thinking through this mesh, I'm trying to think through how I want to break down certain elements like that. I'm trying to think through what parts of the character I want to pull off and separate because the entire mesh now is just one full mesh, and I'm starting to really think through what the character's personality is and how I can pull off certain elements. For instance, with this character's beard or the mustache, I was like, you know what? I like the idea that I was starting to sculpt out here, but I need to define it as its own individual shape and element. So that is part of the next stage of this process. And then just starting to like really define like does it have hair? Like, what are these things here? And a lot of times I feel like as long as you keep it free flowing and you're having fun in the creative process in which you're doing, I think you'll um it's a much more enjoyable experience, like overall. So,
Totally agree.
yeah. I had a question I was asking about like what exactly, like how I work through my thought process when creating, and if I could explain what it was that I was actually doing. Because I know a lot of times like I'll start on stuff and I'm just in it, and just like really going through and explaining like why I'm doing the things I'm doing and how I'm working through the specific like thought process on these characters.
It's useful. That's one of the things I love about good live streaming is that you get like these cool opportunities to just listen to people's process and things like that.
Right. 1000%. I didn't realize it before, but a lot of times I speak in percentages. Like I'll always say like, oh, 10,000%, 100%.
Yeah,
Like
you do that a lot.
like I never realized how much I agree with people in terms of percentages. Like it's really funny.
Oh, 2,000,000%. Yeah, dude. That's a lot of
It's
percent.
funny, but it's so real.
Oh, we only got like a couple of minutes left. It's
Oh wow,
beautiful.
that hour went by super fast.
Yeah, it says 1 minute left.
Okay, let me try to get this together. The smartest in our last minute. Then I can go back to the character here, split off the mask points. So this mustache is now separate geometry. And then what I want to do, I want to go in and start to smooth out the areas that I had already created to represent that geometry. That
Man, I'm
way
excited to see what you're making.
he won't have it in his way. Man, it's wild. I'm trying to have like these really exaggerated like look to him too.
Oh, and there's the timer.
All right, folks.
And here I am, like, still trying to, like, massage a couple of things into place.
I know, right? Okay, so with the timer going off in this process, if you just joined the stream, Smartest and myself, I am Mikel Wellington. We're both 3D artists in the animation and film game industry. And what we've done is selected a theme to work from. And our particular theme, our word is ancient. So we worked for an hour currently, and now we're going to pass off these models to one another to see what kind of elements we can add to the ancient look or the ancient theme that we are developing. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this piece out and get it ready for him, uh, which we have on a Google Drive, thankfully.
Yeah. Oh, and here I am still sculpting.
That we can just pass off. So let me file.
Okay, I'll call that good. That's good enough for now. Okay.
Okay, so mine has been uploaded. Oh, I'm so excited to see what you got.
TeamStream. Okay. There we are. All right. Oh, yours is already uploaded? Man.
Yep, uploaded, ready to go.
Let's see. Oh, let's get mine uploading before I start. Before I start downloading yours. Just that way I can TeamStream. Download. Scanning for viruses. Come on.
For everybody that's just joining, thanks so much for checking us out and being a part of this. I'm super, super green to streaming, so everything has been a learning process. And Smartest is probably one of the most prominent streamers that I know, and YouTubers and teachers, and it's been awesome. We really want to make sure we give him a shout out um, for giving us an opportunity to come on this platform and really sharing this experience because it is important and it's fun. It's awesome.
It is fun. I really love streaming, and I'm just grateful that you were willing to come jump on with me today.
All right, so let's get this opened up. Yes, go. Oh, look at that. Let's go.
Oh, did it actually upload?
Yeah, I have it right here.
There we go. Okay, now it's up. Because like it
Yeah,
wouldn't let me download until it was finished
I think the
uploading.
one I handed off to you is a Z project.
That's fine. That's fine. I can still bring that in as a as a Z tool. It's kind of a cool little function inside of ZBrush underneath the load tool button. There's a load tools from project button. It's like I get projects from my students all the time, and it's just like save out a tool. Whoa,
That's sick.
whoa, dude! Looks like some Beauty and the Beast inspiration right there.
So let me know when you start the timer and we can uh we can get rolling.
Okay,
This is really cool.
just as a little bit of background, we for those tuning in, Mikel and I just swapped sculpts, and we're about to start the 1 hour timer to be able to start working on kind of pushing each other's ideas further, and we'll see kind of like how these things end up. Yeah, let's start that timer. Let's get going.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right.
And I
Yeah,
really
dude,
like that going here.
you've definitely got like this really cool like beast vibe going on. It's so fun.
Yeah. In my mind, like as I started to work through it, I was like, oh, this totally feels like a Brahma bull. And I just kept thinking about the rock. It's like this is very rock like. I don't know. It's random.
Let me see. I'm gonna like.
So I'm curious, in your opinion, what do you think, um, what would you rather, like a really amazing project or a really great team? And if you had one, the other one would suffer. Like what would you say is better in your opinion? Like a really great project or a really phenomenal team?
Oh shoot. Well, it's like I know that the project suffers regardless of how cool the project is if the team is not in it.
Mhm.
Um, it's like if the team's not together, like the project is just rubbish. Um, but at the same time, if the project is rubbish, then the team kind of just loses interest, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. That's a really tricky one. Like personally, um, I definitely prefer to have like a really cool, engaging project.
Right.
Um, it's hard to work on stuff that you don't feel passionate about. Um,
Totally get that. 100%.
the percentage thing, the percentage game. That was fun. But yeah, it's really kind of an interesting dynamic there, um, because on the one hand, yeah, I mean, really, it just comes down to the. I think the first thing that needs to be good is the team, because if
Right.
the team is good, the project can be improved and lifted and whatever. Because I mean, I've worked on teams where the team was really good and the project did a lot better. I've worked on teams
Right.
where the team was terrible and the project suffered. So
On a lot of the teams that you've worked, have you always worked in the capacity of a lead?
no, I've actually only been in the position of a lead maybe a couple of times.
What are some
Um,
things that you look for in solid leadership?
hmm, Definitely communication. Communication is probably the biggest thing.
Right.
Um, and I feel like I feel like honesty is another big one. And I've worked with supervisors in the past that um, wouldn't tell me that something wasn't turning out the way that they wanted, and then they, you know, explode one way or
Right.
another. Um, and I usually have to end up, suffering at the end of that. But anyway, I won't mention any specifics because that's professionally rude. But
Right.
but yeah, I just really kind of I feel like the more a lead or a supervisor can um, can be open to their team, to the people that they are collaborating with, that they're responsible for. I feel like it's a lot easier for the project to move forward properly and for the team to feel more unified. Um,
Right.
so yeah, yeah. How about you? Have you ever had experiences like that? What are your thoughts on the same?
Um, you remember what the question was? I got really into thinking about crafting this hair.
It's funny. I was going to go through and make hair for it. My idea for it. I'll tell you. I'll tell you later because I mean I think I don't want to taint whatever you have in your head. Um, But yeah, it's kind of funny. I was gonna make hair. The question was something along the lines of, um, well, I guess your first question was something about like about working on a team, and if it's
Right.
more important to have uh, a successful team or a close team, or if it's more important to have um, a cool project.
I think for me, it's definitely more important to have a team that I can like really work with. Because I mean, I've worked on projects that may not have been as fun, but having just amazing people around you, simply because of the fact that you're going to be around them for so long, for so many hours of the day, like uh, it makes the projects feel a lot better to me.
Absolutely,
Um,
yeah.
and that's been like my general consensus and overall experience. Um, Shout out to Dylan Ekron with these hair brushes. I haven't made any myself yet, but that's definitely something that I want to look more into.
Yeah, making your own hairbrush, super, super helpful. I went ahead and I made my
Yeah,
own because it just like I couldn't quite get the shape or the stylization that I wanted out of the ones that were out there, so I just went ahead and made my own, and it's really, really handy. It's a great skill to have. Um,
there is a. I was trying to remember where the option was for. Um, wait, where's my? So currently, uh, the thing that I'm running into is that when I create this stroke, it creates like the thinnest part to the thickest part. So I want to um, reverse how the stroke is created. So if you go into your stroke palette, which you can find at the top uh, here, if you go into your stroke palette, the issue that I was running into with this particular brush is that the uh, the curve originated from the root of the drawing and it came outward to a more thicker point. And for me, I want to reverse that so it's thicker at the root, at least for this example. So I just reverse it in this graph here, which is the size modifier, and then I can have a thicker uh, root creation. And to start, like I'll just make a couple of strands just to get an idea of how I want this hair to flow. And then I'll create like the mass of the hair um, as I start to push in with the character more and control the size of the strand when the cursor is red here. And then once you click on the actual curve itself, you can manipulate it and still keep that same size of the strand uh, be identical. But with this, I want to make a huge hair mass that just feels right.
just feels right.
Feels so right for this character. Let's hide those and then let's split hidden. So they're their own separate pieces of geometry now. And then from there, we're gonna create this mesh. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Idea.
Let me see. Tell us about a time, um, an experience that you've had working with somebody else's concept and how the collaboration process on that project helped you to grow as an artist.
Oh yeah, there was I was a character artist on a short film called The Book of Mojo, which was directed by Everett Downing, who most recently was in the Black Creatives webinar yesterday for Netflix, featuring a few other Black creatives. Um, but he's a creator over at Pixar, not Pixar, over at Netflix now.
Cool.
And we were, there was a design that we were given, and the designer was no longer on the project. So we were trying to come up with a way collaboratively to hit the notes that he was looking for. And it just gave me an opportunity to really sit down with the director and just work through how we can build this character. And I feel like there's certain things that I had to think about that I never really thought about as a modeler before, and trying to get into the head of a designer and what they're thinking and how they think, to ultimately get a design that the director liked and that worked for him.
Cool.
And it's a lot of fun when you go through that kind of a process, because it gives you just an additive layer of information that um, I think there's certain things that I just wouldn't think about initially had I not gone through um, how a designer thinks, like the kind of things that they create.
Right. Oh, that's great.
Uh, One of the things I want to define is where this part splits, like for the hair.
Oh, I thought you said where the heart splits. I was like, what are you doing to this guy?
Nah, the where the hair like part. That's super funny though.
Like, I can't imagine what you're doing to him if you're heart splitting his heart.
Why is his heart being split from his body?
Poor guy.
Someone save him.
You broke his heart. Oh, terrible. So one of the things I'm trying to do right now is kind of block in forms and try to figure out, new shapes, or trying to refine shapes. And so I'm trying to keep it at the resolution that it's at. But then I'll eventually go in and kind of build the add more resolution so that it's so that I can idea. Okay. There we go. Yeah, just playing with forms for right now so that I can get kind of the added idea of pushing design, things like that.
Mhm.
And then yeah, and then just trying to figure out how from there I can go about adding I guess adding my own flavor, and then I'll add resolution afterwards so that I can kind of refine from there. It's always good to. Oh man, I think somebody's smoking pot outside. Dang it.
Mhm.
Um, oh, maybe not. Maybe it's the skunk. Um, yeah, so it's important to have like the lower resolutions at first, so that way you can define forms and kind of refine things. Um, I have a lot of students that'll go through and um, jump into too high resolution too early, and uh, and they always suffer for it.
Mhm.
Let me see. But dude, this guy's been like such a fun base to work with.
Right.
I've totally changed him from how he was when you handed him off to me, though. Okay, what's your favorite thing about being in LA?
Hmm? So how do I like being in LA?
Yeah, what's your favorite thing about being in LA?
What's not to like about being in LA? Um, I really like the people, honestly. Like I think for so long, um, there's this idea that, you know, everyone in LA is like either super pretentious or they're just a different breed. Um, and I found the people that I've been around, at least in animation, people that I've been around, at least in animation, have been amazing.
That's good.
And I've really been enjoying that aspect of it for sure.
That's good. Yeah, I like it. I like it when there are good people around. It just makes everything so much nicer.
Yeah.
What about favorite types of food to find out here? What's something that you found out here that you love that you can't get back in, back east, back home?
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
I gotta think about that one. We
Because you can get most things back
we
home,
have
right?
We have Roscoe's that we have here that we don't have back home.
Oh, okay. I
And
thought you were gonna say that you have that back home and you don't have that here. It's like, no, you totally have Roscoe's
nah.
here. It's out in Englewood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we don't have Roscoe's back home, and that's something that I really like here. We also found this place called Honeybird, and I'm a big proponent of that place. Like, I really like everything that they serve.
What was that one
Um,
called? Honeybird?
yeah, Honeybird.
Huh.
It's pretty good.
For those of you joining the stream, um, first off, thank you for being here. We're having a lot of fun sculpting right now. This is a so my name is Stephen Anderson, uh, and on Twitch, I've got my friend Mikel Wellington.
Hello.
Uh, Hi. Um, so these projects, we have we just started them today. We so essentially what this is um, currently I'm working on the one that Mikkel started, and Mikkel's working on the one that I started, and um, we have been working on each other's sculpt for about a half hour now.
Oh
something like
wow.
that. Um, and we spent an hour on them before that. So not really a ton of time, fairly limited time. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. It's kind of passing the sculpt back and forth, to be able to refine it, to be able to make it something new and different, and to be able to get different perspectives. So that's kind of the idea behind that. So it hasn't really these sculpts haven't really taken a whole lot of time, um, and it's really just kind of um, kind of quick. Oh, there we go. So yeah, to Saverio on YouTube. Uh, hopefully that answers your question. Um, yeah, we haven't been working on these for super long. This is something that we kind of just came up with the idea for these this morning, and we've been working on them since about 9 o'clock this morning. So yeah, yeah. So it's a oh, that was the wrong one. Clay brush. So yeah, really quick exercise, and it's just about kind of pulling a simple idea and running with it. Um, so the theme that we pulled, that we decided on this morning was ancient. Um, when I pick um, speed sculpting themes or design themes, I like to have just really simple kind of adjectives, sort of themes to it, and it makes it really nice because it's open ended. It's something that you can really pick and decide what it is that you want to do with it. Um, so yeah, just pulling in, having fun, and seeing what comes of it. Thanks for the answer. Well, thanks for the question. Yeah, if you want to be able to see Mikel and see the stuff that he's sculpting, he's over on Twitch, twitch.tv / Menti MENTY _
That
Um,
is me.
that is indeed him. So nice guy, real upstanding gentleman, and fantastic ZBrush artist. So definitely one of my favorite people to chat with and hang out with. So yeah, fun having him around for a stream today.
Do you play a lot of games?
The kids like to play Pokemon Go, so we do like Pokemon walks occasionally. But I don't really play. Like I'm not like a Halo guy. I used to be in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Was it Halo specifically, or was it something else?
yeah, it was Halo specifically, and I think I only ever really got into Halo 1. I might have tried Halo 2.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I mean that was crazy. My friends were super into it, and they were always playing on Xbox Live, and you know playing all sorts of
Yeah.
melee rounds and things like that, and sniper. I don't know. It's just like they were super into it, and they loved pulling me into it because I was just target practice. Like they were really good. They spent a ton of time finding like the best sniping positions and whatever. And I wasn't as good tactically as they were. So if I was out in the open for too long, it was easy for them to. So if whenever I was on the team, they were like, "Steven, just find a place to hide and don't move."
Stand there for us. Dang.
So that was kind of fun. But
Yeah, I found like a lot of some of my closest friendships have come through gaming and just like the gaming community in general. Like it's something you wouldn't typically expect, but
well, especially for something that's so virtual, something that relies so heavily on looking at a screen and not necessarily being, there in person. It's kind of interesting to see, the breadth of human connection, that comes from the gaming community,
mhm.
or can come from human community. How about you guys watching the stream? Do you like to watch or play, or are you connected to games in any way? And what do you like to watch and play? It's always kind of funny because like a lot of the gaming studios are always asking, what do you play? What are you playing right now? What do you? And so
Mhm.
it's always so funny to me because I don't really play. Um, I don't play at all, and so whenever I get that question, it's always kind of uncomfortable to me because it's like now I feel like I'm being judged, and I feel like I'm being, I feel like I look like I'm not invested in the product, and whatever. So yeah, don't feel bad if you game, but don't feel bad if you don't game. But be aware that that's how you will feel if you're asked what games you're playing.
Yeah, that's happened to me previously, and I felt bad that I didn't play that particular company's game, but it's just something that was I never like really was into. Like I really liked their art style, but I never really played like their games specifically. Um,
Right.
I mean, I'm terrible at Overwatch, but I also like really love like the art that they create.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the cinematics. So
Oh
like
yeah,
for Overwatch or for League of Legends or anything
yeah.
Blizzard.
Have you seen the new Riot trailer for Valorant?
Valorant, that's what it's called. Yeah, I did see the
It's
trailer for that.
it's so good,
It's
so
pretty
good.
cool. Like I love how, and I've always loved Riot's cinematics from like marrying the 2D animation with the 3D animation. Uh,
Hmm.
I think it's so cool. Um, I mean, I haven't seen. Well, I guess I've seen a little bit of gameplay. I went ahead and checked it out before I actually interviewed with Riot like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. Um,
Would it be for the gameplay team or the cinematic team?
consumer products actually.
Oh, nice.
yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Um, is this on dynamic? It's not on dynamic. Man, it's like it's really slowing down. Well, it's over 1 million polys now, so I probably like fix that or something. Um, yeah, it's getting super dense. Um, but yeah, I mean that was kind of an exciting little interview. Um, I love doing toys. But yeah, so in order to kind of prep for it, if you will, I had only heard about the Valorant game like the night before. A friend of mine across the street that he and his family own a Vietnamese pho restaurant.
Okay.
Um, Super awesome food, by the way. So if anybody wants to check out Lotus House in Temple City, California, it's the place to go. Shameless plug.
Shout out Lotus House.
Lotus House. Um,
Oh,
um,
that's super funny.
yeah. So yeah. Lotus House. So yeah, he told me about. Yeah, tell Kenny Steven sent you. Anyway, one of the things that I find. Well, so he told me he's super into gaming. I told him about the interview, and he's like, "Oh, you should go and check out the Valorant trailer." And I was like, "Maybe I will." And I did. It was really really cool. I don't think I liked the trailer quite as much as I like the League of Legends trailers, but
Mhm.
it's still pretty doggone epic. Like I said, I love the marrying of um, the 2D versus 3D animation.
Oh yeah, I really like that. That entire style um just feels right to me.
Yeah, I think that's where like true artistry is really coming to full realization there. It's super super neat. I think that when you can go through and kind of marry a couple of styles together like that, styles that are completely different in execution and final look and whatever it may be, and have
Right.
it work. I mean, hot dog, like you are set. Recently started watching Legend of Korra again, Avatar.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, what do you think of it?
well, I love it. I think it's really super fun. I started watching it with the kids though, and they love it. They loved the Airbender series. I had shown them that because like I love the Avatar series. I think it's so much fun, and yeah, it's like between that and Pokemon Go, it's like they're happy as a clam. Let's see, where are we at time wise? Oh, we still got like 20 minutes or something like that. 24
Okay,
minutes.
good.
I was like, where are we? Okay, we're good. We're good. All right. Because I've got a lot of experimentation that I want to do on this still.
Yeah, I feel like I've only hit a small surface of where I want to go. But
Dude, I'm gonna experiment and try to add in like fur.
oh,
I have this fur IMM brush that I created as something of an
mm-hmm.
experiment, and it works really really well. Definitely something that I think I want to experiment with a little bit more before I like try releasing it or whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. But yeah, I mean it's kind of a fun thing to play around with. It's just based off of my hairbrush, so it's something that goes along well with it, and which is the whole idea, right? Oh, dang it. I hate it when that happens. I don't know what's been causing this. Maybe you know. Um, I've been having this issue lately where
Mm-hmm.
whenever I drag out an IMM brush, it's like it's trying to well, like, so I want to be able to kind of reposition the piece that I've dragged out, and if
Mm-hmm.
I have multiple pieces of the same sort of um, multiple pieces dragged out on my mesh, and I try to use my move tool, it like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it does this weird thing where it's like it treats pieces um, as if they're on the opposite side from where they are.
Mm.
I don't even know how to explain it, but I at least have it recorded. I'll have to send the bug off to Pixelogic. Let's see, Severia says, definitely an artist to follow on Twitch, Mr. Wellington. Do you have a suggestion on what subjects to choose when you're starting to sculpt? I like to follow art streams.
Do
Uh,
I have a suggestion, or is that something someone asked you?
Well, I mean, it was on my stream, but I mean, it was saying Mr. Wellington, so yeah, you go for it.
Um, typically when choosing a design or a theme to go with, I tend to go towards artists that I like that have really um, really strong design sense. Because I feel like a lot of times for me, um, that's just that's just the job in general. Um, but yeah, I usually go with artists that I really like their sense of design and the things that they like to bring forth in the characters that they create. Because a lot of what I do is based on the things that they do. But if I'm just doing it for myself personally, uh, I don't know.
No, I think that's totally valid. I think that's a good answer. And like you were saying, so much of what we do as modelers, as sculptors, we have to interpret somebody else's design. So picking something that you're passionate about really helps in um, something that you like, something that you feel like you can that'll showcase your skills, your abilities um, to translate, some design, and something that can also show you that you could fit into the pipeline of whatever it is that you want to do.
Right.
Um, Personally, when I'm picking exercises, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think about like what fits at the studios that I want to work at, or what's the kind of work that I want to be doing. Um, I mean, I've done some oddball jobs, like modeling furniture, and it's not the kind of jobs that I want to be getting. So you'll never see that furniture that I modeled in my portfolio. It's just not something I want to
Right.
be known for. Yeah. So um,
I can 100% concur with that.
just
If there's
100%. Ah.
something, or if there's something that you don't want to do, uh, do not put it in your portfolio. There's been times where I've created art and it's something that doesn't necessarily like speak to me personally. Um, but because it's in my portfolio, those are the type of offers that I was getting and the kind of opportunities that I was getting, even though it's things that I didn't necessarily like want to do. So I would just say keep that in mind. I haven't decided how I'm gonna handle this stuff yet.
Yeah, I think I might be kind of over noodling this fur. I might have to just hide it and just go back to the facial expression or something for now. It's fun to kind of let yourself get lost in noodling things sometimes, but sometimes it's just like, I've only got so much time to be able to do this right now. Let's
Right. That happens to me all the time. Like literally all the time. I'm just like, oh, but what about this little piece I'm adding here? That's like under the chin or something random.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I'll go through and I'll only worry about bits that will actually be seen.
Yeah. A lot of times I build up from a higher mesh just to get my idea across. And then from there I'll go into the remeshing it for lower. topology usage. Do you tend to start low and work your way up high?
Yeah, yeah, practically always. With right now being kind of the exception where I don't typically work in like a Dynamesh sculpt sort of fashion. Um,
Yeah.
it's definitely something that I've kind of fallen out of in recent years. Mostly
Hmm.
just because most of everything that I do or that I like to do professionally is um, very low res production mesh topology sort of work. So most of the time, I'll go ahead and I'll just straight up box model things, clothing,
Oh
props, and
yeah.
accessories, the character itself, and I feel like that's kind of the practice that I feel like I thrive on. Um, that and it feels more useful and whatnot. Keeps me polished, keeps me sharp, and it gets me a lot closer to having something final that I can show in the end.
It's just more production ready.
Right, right, right. Right now, I'm trying to challenge myself a little bit more with the clay brush, just the standard clay brush, because Raphael uses it so much, and he always gets such cool results with it. I'm just like, I'm going to try it. It's kind of working. Oh, we're getting down to the wire now. 10
How much
minutes.
time do we have left?
10
Holy
minutes.
crap! This goes by so quickly.
Yeah, it really does. It really, really does.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting.
For anybody, I don't know how many people are recently joining or whatnot, but for those of you who are recently joining, I'm Steven Anderson, and I got my buddy Mikel on the other line on
Hello.
Twitch, and we're just doing kind of a pass the sculpts activity, if you will. Um, where essentially we each spent an hour on a sculpt before passing it off to each other, and then now we're coming down to the end of our second hour um, before we do kind of like our final reveal, see how everything go, how it all went. um, so yeah, just a fun fun little exercise. It's one that I started doing with some friends on the Pixelogic channel, and yeah, it's a really useful, fun exercise. So if you ever get the opportunity to do something like this, totally do it.
Highly recommended.
I'm hoping, perhaps against all hope, that there will be something cool for the ZBrush Summit this year.
Do you think they're still having it?
Probably not in person,
Yeah.
just because of how the pandemic has been and how cases have grown in LA and things like that. Um,
Right.
Especially in light of the protests, and the protests are so close to that area anyway. Um, so I mean, I'd be surprised if stuff happened on site this year. Um, I'd also be surprised if there wasn't some sort of excellent virtual summit, if you will. You know.
Hmm.
So if Pixelogic is listening, don't disappoint me.
So what?
So if Pixelogic is listening, don't disappoint me.
That's funny.
Trying to break up the symmetry a little bit in this beard.
Need a strap to hold this stuff down.
Yeah, this has been a really fun one to work on so far. It's really kind of put me out of put out of my comfort zone for sure.
Which aspect?
Well, I don't typically do creatures,
Oh,
so it's kind of a fun change up from what I'm used to, from what I typically do. Last night for class, one of my students had gone through and done this demon thing. Super cool. It was really cool how it was turning out. It's the end of the term, so it's um, yeah, so it's kind of really getting close to finished, and he was having a hard time trying to think about how he wanted to pose it. Um, and so
hello.
yeah. Did you lose connection for a second? Or?
I think so. I was like, how are we
Bummer.
looking on time?
How are we looking on time? Oh, it's getting close. About 2 minutes, it says. Dang. But yeah, so he anyway, so last night my student is getting really close to finished with his piece, and being the end of the term and everything. And anyway, so he was needing some pointers on posing the character. Um, so I went ahead and did a posing demo, and it was fun. It was an interesting change up. Like I said, kind of a demon character. Um, so definitely different from what I typically do, but still neat. Still kind of fun.
Has there ever been something that you just absolutely um, did not want to make uh, for any particular reason, be it like morally or whatever?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. I think I think shoot, I think I just messed that up. I think I've had oh there goes timer. I think I've had project opportunities come up that I didn't work on, or didn't do because of um, I guess projects that I chose not to take on because of because of religious reasons. Um, and I think it's okay. I mean, you really got to think about like your morals, your stands, your values when you're taking on projects, and you can't
Right.
just take on projects for the sake of needing money. You gotta make sure that you maintain your own dignity and your own whatever. In the meanwhile, um, yeah, because you're important too. um,
100%. I also don't know what qualifies the percentage, like what brings it from 100 to 1,000. Like, I feel like most of the time it's just random on what number I choose.
Uh,
I had
yeah,
not saved it in a long while.
yeah, 200%. There's no formula.
There is no formula. There are only numbers. All right.
I keep like accidentally hitting that
I
V
guess this
key
is
and he
where it
keeps
is
vanishing
for
into
right
black.
now.
What was that?
I said I guess this is where it is for right now. I don't know how much I would actually add in an additional 5 minutes, but
Right.
dang, I do want to get like this strap though. I meant to tie the strap around his entire head, but ultimately ended up only doing part of his head because of how I outlined his hair. Split. I don't even know where my. Mm,
Okay.
inter-
Well, I didn't poly paint him or anything like that, but he's still kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely didn't either.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump over to Twitch to be able to see yours, and then I'll share. Sorry, that was like loud. Minty underscore W. Nice. Okay. So I'm gonna. I have your screen sharing, or not sharing yet, I guess, but I have it pulled up. Dude, you killed it.
Thanks. I'm trying to do something.
That's super
Um,
fun.
I need to do the same right after.
That's fine. Maybe what I'll
I
do is I'll bring it up. I'll bring up while you're still working on that. I'll show kind of where I left mine off. And
Mhm.
I'll kind of do a little screenshot of that. And then I'll go ahead and I'll bring yours onto the screen just to be able to kind of show people like what's happening there. Dude, that's looking so stellar. That is so cool. I love how you like threw together those well, the straps and the feathers and it's so much fun, dude.
Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to push this centerpiece to make it like a sundial type of thing.
Cool.
I don't know. It would be cool like if this was like some kind of sundial and maybe like when you rotate it, you can like change things that happen around him. I don't know.
Interesting.
Kind of like going around the sun type of thing. I don't know. Sun salutation, all my yogis out there. Um, all right, so yeah, so this is where I am, everybody. Is a character started off by the fantastic Steven Anderson, um, smartest on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're gonna dive into check out his mesh on YouTube. So bear with me while I figure out how to do that. um, like I said, this is my first dive into on things, so you'll have to give me a second.
Just got real quiet.
I always type this wrong. Is it SMAA?
Yeah, 2 A's. SMA artist.
That's
Yeah, super simple combination of
okay. Here we are. Streamlab is coming up. Window capture.
yeah. Saverio is saying, given the suggestion of using Restream to be able to stream, which would allow you to be able to stream to both Twitch and, well, stream to lots of different platforms. I currently have my Restream set to Twitch and YouTube. But I need to go through and kind of play with it. The reason I'm doing it just to YouTube at the moment is because I currently have my YouTube hooked up to my Patreon page.
Gotcha.
Um, so yeah.
All
Oh
right, so we have your stream up. If you want to introduce both meshes, give another brief overview of what we did and what we were trying to accomplish, I think that would be awesome.
yeah. So I guess this is kind of where I had left mine off, and then as you can see on Mikel's screen, I mean, he's got the one kind of pulled up for the end. Maybe what I'll do is kind of show. There we go. So here's how Mikel's look like. Maybe what you can do is you can show mine how you received it, and then show
Okay.
where you took it. Oh, I forgot the mustache. Oh, missed opportunity. Yeah, so I've got Mikel's on the left, and then where I took it to on the right. It was a really fun little guy to little guy to kind of play around with. Oh, it looks like on the other one I had the ears turned off or something. Oh well, whatever. Um, Let me go turn those on because I think that's kind of important. That must have been old. Where did those ears go? How's my boy gonna hear? I haven't seen him anywhere. That's not that interesting. Interesting. Here, let's do this. I'm gonna come over here. Let's kind of refresh that. Load tool. We'll just reload the one that I downloaded. Where is it? Oh my goodness. Oh, that's right. Load tools from
From our
project.
sculpt, and then the image on the right is where we got to within that time frame. Steven and myself only had an hour per side to just see like what we would add to it. Um, the theme that we had to work from was ancient, So just based off of that concept alone, where we were taking this particular mesh. Um, and like I said previously, this mesh is the one that we started off from Steven, and then this one on the right is where we ended up with me. And now we shall hop over into Steven's stream to check out uh, exactly what that looks like from
Yeah,
his perspective and where he started and where he got to.
I guess I'll just jump back into. I was trying to jump over into your stream to see if I could get to see what you were trying to show, and I couldn't see it. Um, yeah, so I guess if you want to be able to see how how Mikel improved upon my
That's
sculpt,
super
you
cool
can
what
go
you
over
did.
and watch him on Twitch. His stream will probably be available still on his channel for the next like week or something like that. 2 weeks, I think is like default, something like that. So yeah,
I have no idea.
something like that. So yeah, I mean this is kind of this is what I saw and did with Mikel's. I it's kind of funny. I went through and tried to interpret like the shapes right here in the cheek and tried to think about okay, well, maybe that's just like a beard. It kind of evolved into like this big triangular Fire Nation beard sort of thing going on over there. It was I don't know. It was just kind of funny, you know, just playing with proportions. I made the horns on the head a lot bigger. Um, Tried to make him feel a lot more gruff by making his brows heavier. Yeah, I don't know. I just really played with it. Tried experimenting with my work in progress fur brush. Um, Got some chunks kind of going in there, and it's starting to work, but got a long way to go.
Super cool.
Yeah, so yeah, just had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, it was fun. I went ahead and I took the ears. I didn't do anything extra to them. I just kind of like I flopped them sides, like I switched them sides, just dragging them over with the move tool, and then turned them upside down.
That's
I feel like it fits
awesome.
better with this size of a horn. I wanted to go through if I had more time and play with the design of the horn. I kind of played
Yeah,
with some of the shape and pulling it around and whatnot, but and then I probably would have gone on and like
very, very
played with
cool.
the back and things like that. But yeah, just kind of just had fun with it.
Well, I mean, I don't really have anything else, but I
Yeah,
just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the viewers that are checking me out on stream, everybody that's participating on YouTube with Steven. Like I said, this is my first foray into streaming. Um, and it's been really fun. It's been really cool to sit and have like, this time to work through this art and your conversation, Steven, has been awesome. So I just want to say thanks to you and thanks to everybody who enjoyed this stream.
you too, dude. I mean, it's always a pleasure, and it's great having you on stream, and it's great to yeah, it was just a fun activity, and I really enjoyed having you around. So thanks for agreeing to to play in today.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming and supporting and just having the fun having fun with us today. And yeah, hope to see you around. See you around the webs. Yeah, make sure to follow Mikel on Instagram. Mikel.Wellington. You got his name written at the bottom of my screen. Um, Really fantastic talent, really great guy. So yeah, make sure anytime you get an opportunity to meet him, or at the social events and whatnot. I mean, he's awesome. So check him out. Have fun,
Thank you.
and yeah, have a great day. Stay safe, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.